What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Dynasty. Let me adjust that camera there. Um, but today, man, we got a good episode for y'all. Today, we're going to be talking about some rookies. It is the week of the NFL draft. You see, I got my Vikings draft hat on from last year's NFL draft. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reacting, analyzing, breaking down Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 3.0. We're going to be using his landing spots as inspiration. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be saying whether the landing spot is a good or a bad landing spot based on it being a fantasy paradise or a fantasy wasteland. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We do have our usual suspect with us, but there is a little bit of an unusual aspect to what we got going on today. Fresh off of surgery, we got the Black Mamba himself. How you doing, War?
I play through injury, man. I play through all injuries. 24/7, 365. No, I did not get my ass kicked by a Packer, a Lion, or a Vikings fan. I'm here. I play through injuries. Let's go.
There you go, man. Kobe Bryant, the MF Doom, whatever you want to be, man. It don't matter.
Let's get it.
Alrighty. So, like I said, man, we got this. We got this Daniel Jeremiah mock draft. You and I have looked at it. We're just gonna be reacting to the first round of it.
Okay.
And there's 12 players drafted, 12 fantasy relevant players drafted in that first round. And so we're going to be reacting to that, saying whether it's paradise or wasteland. And so let's just start it off right away, man. And the first guy drafted first overall to the Carolina Panthers is none other than Bryce Young. So Bryce Young, number one overall to the Carolina Panthers. And I am interested to hear what your thoughts are on this war. Is this fantasy paradise or a fantasy wasteland?
Funny enough, believe it or not, initially I believe we spoke about this like a few videos ago, and I was saying how Bryce going to the Panthers is a bad landing spot because they don't have anything. But you actually had me come around to your side of that. I think with the coaching staff that's in place, I think they'll actually be able to get a lot out of Bryce Young. So I do see this as being a paradise location for him because you have Frank Reich, you also have freaking the quarterbacks coach too. So everything seems to be on the up and up over there.
Okay. Did I throw you off with the little luau music?
You did, you did. I didn't know where the hell it came from. I
Okay.
had no clue. I
Yeah.
was looking like technical difficulties.
No, I got little sound effects for us. So whether it's paradise or wasteland, I got a sound effect.
Okay, I'm ready for it next time.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you, man. I think this is fantasy paradise for Bryce Young. So I'm gonna hit the sound effect for myself. But to me, it's the coaching staff. It's the number one overall draft capital. I think Bryce Young is the most pro ready quarterback in this class. Really all around, I think that they're in position to continue not just building this year, but continuing to build over the next couple years around Bryce Young. So this is the first piece of the puzzle, and I think it's only going to get better. So for me, good landing spot. It's going to be a very pass heavy offense because they're going to be down in a good amount of games. They're surrounding him with some guys, some veterans that I think will kind of help Bryce get a little bit better in the NFL, which is Adam Thielen, DJ Shark. I think in the second round they could potentially add a wide receiver as well. So there's a good amount of guys for me to say that this is a fantasy football paradise. And let's see, we got a comment in here. He said, "Why Ward look like he's about to drop 60? What's with the mask?"
I'm just playing through injuries, man. Just playing through injuries.
Yeah, so a surgery for War, but he's still here nonetheless. Um, so, anyways, we did have just after Bryce Young, The second pick overall in the NFL draft, Daniel Jeremiah has the Houston Texans selecting C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. So I'm interested to hear this one for you. Is this paradise or wasteland?
Okay, so CJ Stroud, like I don't know what's going on with him by the way, but I have this as a wasteland. I don't see any scenario where the Texans could be considered a paradise. I just don't see it. They literally have nothing. I mean, unless you want to say David Pierce, you can say that's something, but they traded Brandon Cooks, so that means no number one wide receiver. So they probably have to shop in free agency or draft one. I just do not see this as, a paradise location. And I just don't like their front office to begin with. So I think any rookie that goes there is a complete wasteland.
Okay. I think this is going to be one of the first that we disagree because I am going to be calling it a fantasy paradise. And I just think it's a good landing spot for a quarterback because, one, they have a lot of draft capital. I think that with the 12th overall pick, there's going to be a chance that they add one of the top wide receivers in the draft, giving them an additional weapon. So I wouldn't take out the possibility of maybe getting a Jaxon Smith-Njigba at 12 to pair with CJ Stroud here at number 2. I do think that I know that they have cap space to continue adding. They do have a couple additional draft picks in the upcoming years with the Deshaun Watson trade that happened with Cleveland. And I think that the Houston Texans have 2 bookend tackles that are guaranteed to be there for the next couple of years, just kind of blocking the outside edges for this rookie quarterback. So I think it could be a lot worse. I think that there are some other landing spots that happen in this mock draft with Daniel Jeremiah to be considered a wasteland. But to me, I think it's good enough that I'm going to classify it as a fantasy football paradise for CJ Stroud.
I just think that organization as a whole is a wasteland.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, but we make our way down the board. We get to the 4th overall pick, and Daniel Jeremiah mocks for the Indianapolis Colts. He mocks Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida, and top 5 draft capital again for Anthony Richardson. He's going to the Colts. Is this paradise or wasteland, War?
It's paradise. You could almost look at the Colts and say that they have pretty much everything. They have a wide receiver group. They have a supposed to be elite running back. They have a solid offensive line. I think the Colts have everything needed to just throw a quarterback in there. It's like a just add water type of situation. So yeah, I think the Colts will be a paradise location for Mr. Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, you see Spacenfeld in here. He says A-Rich to the Colts is money. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm going to agree with you, man. This is a fantasy football paradise. Anthony Richardson playing with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., Jelani Woods, Alec Pierce, and just a good offensive coordinator who's now a first-time head coach, and Shane Steichen. I think he's been able to build a great offense around Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. You take a guy like Anthony Richardson. Maybe Anthony Richardson isn't as accurate or as complete of a passer as Jalen Hurts is, but you got to think that he's going to be able to work some stuff, some of that run game, some of the other things that he's done for a guy like Anthony Richardson. To me, this is going to be a Anthony Richardson football paradise, and he's going to score a lot of fantasy points on this roster if that's what the direction that they end up going. So that's why I'm saying it's a fantasy football paradise for me as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Um, so we make our way down the board. There's a couple picks that go by, no offensive players. We get to the 11th pick in the NFL draft, and Daniel Jeremiah mocks the Tennessee Titans, Jaxon Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. And to me, um, I mean, I know what I'm going to say. What do you say, War? Is this wasteland?
Wasteland, absolute wasteland. I don't see. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with their quarterback situation. Are they going to trade for Trey Lance? Are they going to keep Tannehill? I just don't like this spot for any wide receiver right now until that quarterback situation is resolved. This is a run first offense. Like, yes, a wasteland, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, when I was going through my list, there's a couple that I kind of debated, and this is one of the ones that I debated, but I ended up initially falling, or I guess eventually falling into Wasteland, and to me, it kind of just comes down to what you said. Now, I'll give you the other side of the coin and why I was even considering a paradise, and I think for what it's worth, I think on the Tennessee Titans. Jaxon Smith-Njigba would be, in my opinion, the most talented wide receiver on the roster. He would get into a position where I think that he would become the number one pretty quickly because I just think he's a more talented player than Treylon Burks. And then even outside of Treylon Burks, there is not a lot of established guys. Probably the next established guy is going to be Westbrook Akine or even a Chig Okonkwo. And even then, it's like, neither of those guys to me are like established yet. I know as much as we
No.
like Chig in the Dynasty community, I just don't think that he's established yet. So that's why I even considered it being a paradise because I think that the opportunity will be there. But then I looked at it even more and I'm like, okay, so there's going to be opportunity, but how much opportunity will there be? Because there is a chance that Malik Willis is the starting quarterback for this roster next year. And I think if
Yep.
Malik Willis is the starting quarterback, there's really not a lot of passing offense to go around. I mean,
Nope.
the Tennessee Titans are notoriously famous for being such a run heavy offense in the first place that we have this initial gut reaction as fantasy managers that any wide receiver going to the Titans is just gross. It's a bad landing spot. And so I was trying to think outside of the box, break the mold, and try and give it the good old college try on why I might like Jaxon Smith in Tennessee. And again, it just came down to the point where it's like I can't get with Jaxon Smith in Tennessee. So to me, that's why I say Wasteland.
Can't get jiggy with this shit.
Can't get jiggy, man. So that's the way that I see it there. Um, and let's move on because a couple picks later, with the 14th pick in the NFL draft, uh, Daniel Jeremiah has the New England Patriots drafting probably everybody's biggest nightmare, and that's Bijan Robinson, man, going to the New England Patriots. So, paradise or wasteland?
It's a wasteland. Oh my god, I still feel so bad for Bijan if he went to the Patriots. Like, talk about minimizing talent. Um, it'll be completely horrible. He'll be over there splitting carries with freaking Pierre Strong and whoever else over there, and we'll never get to see the true side of Bijan. So yeah, if he went to the Pats, that would definitely be a wasteland and a worst nightmare scenario for a lot of fantasy managers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I chalk it up as a fantasy wasteland as myself, and man, doesn't Bill Belichick know how to just hurt us all as fantasy managers? Because you would take a guy that we all think is this generational talent, the best running back prospect we've seen since Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Adrian Peterson. I mean, these are the names that are being thrown around with Bijan Robinson, and he would draft him and he would put him in an RBBC with Ramondre Stevenson, Pierre Strong, and all these other guys, and a James Robinson. And I guarantee you that if he goes to New England, James Robinson leads the team in red zone carries. So
Yep.
it would be horrific for fantasy managers. And New England runs a lot, and from a volume standpoint, sure, Bijan would get some, but I just think that if he goes to New England, it gets really dicey and really scary. And that 101 that everybody has been so super excited for all of a sudden becomes so unappealing if he is a New England Patriot. And quite honestly, would you even, this is a side note, would you even consider not drafting Bijan with your 101 if he goes there?
No, I wouldn't consider it. I would not draft him at one if that was the case. Like he will fall. He will fall in the draft for me. Honestly,
You would take one
honestly,
of the quarterbacks first?
it depends on where Jahmyr Gibbs went. It depends on where Jahmyr Gibbs went. I
Fair
seen the
enough.
mock draft where and I don't think it's Daniel Jeremiah's. I might be wrong, but I seen a mock draft earlier where Gibbs went to the Eagles. I would consider
Mm,
taking him at 1.1 over Bijan on the Patriots at 1.1.
yeah, I saw a mock draft earlier today actually, where Jahmyr was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals at the end of the first round. And that would be pretty solid too. But
Yeah,
yeah, if Bijan goes to the New England Patriots, man, it makes me sick to my stomach. As somebody who has a 101 in a league, it would be like a kick in the balls, man. But
absolutely.
anyways, so that is a fantasy wasteland for both of us. Now let's go down to the 16th pick overall. Next offensive guy off the board, and a little surprising of a pick, if you ask me. But with the 16th pick, the Washington Commanders are going to pick Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, tight end. Um, and I have to ask, Paradise or Wasteland?
Wasteland. I know I've been throwing wastelands out like candy, but I promise this will probably be like one of the last ones. Um, Once again, if I don't like the quarterback situation, I understand that young quarterbacks feed their tight ends, but I just don't like anything passing game related with the Commanders right now. Kincaid going there, I'm sure Kincaid will be a great talent, but that talent could be undermined by a bad passing game. So right now, that's what I see the Commanders as a bad passing team. So I have to think that it's a wasteland.
Yeah. Well, I told you I was debating between a couple that I was really trying to flip on whether I liked it or I didn't. And this ended up being one of the ones that I was debating on, because when you think about tight ends on the Washington Commanders, it's Logan Thomas and nobody. And so I think that
Right.
Dalton Kincaid would be able to be the tight end one right away. I think he's talented enough. Uh, and I'm not as low on Sam Howell as I am or as you are. So I'm not super worried about that. But when it comes down to it, I did lean Fantasy Wasteland, and I think it's ultimately coming down to how crowded the receiving offense is there. Because when I look at their receiving core, you could argue that Dalton Kincaid would be the fourth option in the passing offense to a Sam Howell, because I think Terry McLaurin's one, Jahan Dotson two, and then you could argue that Curtis Samuel would be used over Dalton Kincaid. Um, so to me, when I'm looking at fantasy football tight ends, and more specifically guys that I want to start in fantasy football at the tight end position, I've been notorious on this show. I've been notorious in past saying that I like to target tight ends who are at worst the second option on their passing offense. For example, a guy like T.J. Hawkinson, who we know Justin Jefferson is the one, but there's a clear number two, and it's T.J. And so I like to target guys like that, and I just don't think that Dalton Kincaid could be that on this passing offense. And then again, you throw in the question mark of Sam Howell. Now, I'm a believer of Sam Howell. I do think Sam's a good player. I was very high on him coming out of college. Unfortunately, the draft capital didn't get to where we wanted it to be, and now he's going to have a shot. But I just don't like him as the fourth option here in Washington, so that's why I ended up going Wasteland.
Yeah, can't argue with that. I mean, Sam Howell may very well be talented, but until he proves it, it's going to be a wasteland for Mr. Kincaid.
Yeah, but top 16 draft capital in the first round for Kincaid, that's fantastic. And even if it's a wasteland, it's somebody you still consider drafting fairly high in your rookie drafts.
Yeah, you have to.
Um, so let's go down. We've already talked about three of the quarterbacks, right? There's one that we didn't talk about. And with the 19th pick in the NFL draft, Daniel Jeremiah has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafting Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. So I got to ask you, War, Paradise or Wasteland?
I'm going to put this as a paradise. I feel like the Buccaneers still have a lot of plays from the Brady era. Like they still have Evans, they still have Godwin. And I'm not sure what the situation with some of their offensive linemen is. I think one of them requested a trade or left or something like that. But I do think there is a lot still left in the cupboard on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to where it could basically supplement a rookie quarterback like Will Levis, and he might be able to thrive a little bit there. So yeah, it's going to be a paradise for me.
Yeah. No, I think for me, again, I brought it up. I said there was a couple. This is one of those ones that I was flipping on. And I ended up leaning Paradise. And it's coming down to the reasons why you said it, man. It's a team that has Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, uh, and a couple other assets there that you got to feel somewhat comfortable having your rookie quarterback around. Now, the reason why I was flip flopping a little bit and why I even considered it being a wasteland is one, coaching. I don't like Todd Bowles as a coach. I don't know if he's the guy to develop a rookie quarterback. Two, I think right here with the 19th pick in the draft, I don't love the draft capital for Will Levis. So amongst those two things, I was a little bit worried. And then I would say three, too. I also don't like the fact that that quarterback room, and say what you want about him, but there is a chance that you bring a guy into a quarterback room with Baker Mayfield, and there's a chance that Baker Mayfield's a better quarterback than Will Levis. There's a possibility there. Um, so I don't know. Those are the reasons why I flip flopped about it. But ultimately, I'm going to trust that Will Levis is going to win the job. Will Levis is going to, be the guy that leads that offense, and then you give him weapons like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, and all of a sudden I'm into it a little bit more. Especially with a guy like Will Levis who has such big arm talent, and a
Yeah.
guy like Mike Evans who plays downfield so well. I think that connection could be pretty good for fantasy football.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I wouldn't be too worried about Baker Mayfield because Will Levis has a bigger arm. So at the end of the day, that's probably going to be key.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Um, so let's go down to our next pick, which is just one pick later, and with the 20th pick in the NFL draft, Daniel Jeremiah mocks the Seattle Seahawks. Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC, and is this Wasteland or Paradise?
Wasteland. Wasteland. I think we spoke about this during another video as well. Jordan Addison. I don't like any wide receiver that's going to team up with Geno Smith. Add that to the fact that you're not only teaming up with Geno Smith, you're also probably going to be behind DK Metcalf, and you're going to be behind freaking Tyler Lockett. So, and it's another run first offense as well. So I mean, I'm just don't buy into Geno. It's a lot of uh, receivers, a lot of touches to go around on that team that is going to take away from a working wide receiver. So this is a definite wasteland for me.
Yeah. I ended up going with Wasteland as well, and it's the same talking points, man. It's Jordan Addison is a fine wide receiver in my opinion, but I think the hope for Jordan Addison is that he would eventually end up replacing Tyler Lockett. But when I get a guy who's probably the wide receiver 3 this year, maybe the wide receiver 3 on that offense next year, and a question mark. And I know people are bought into Geno, but I'm not sold. Uh, I can't buy into a guy who's a wide receiver 3 with a question mark at quarterback. So that's why I'm going to end up saying it's a fantasy wasteland. I wouldn't like seeing this landing spot for Jordan Addison. There's a lot more places I'd rather see him go play.
Yeah, no, I agree. This would be a bad spot for Jordan.
One of the places that I would like to see him play is actually this next place that we're talking about. And the 21st pick overall, Daniel Jeremiah has the Los Angeles Chargers drafting wide receiver Zay Flowers out of Boston College. And so, yeah, I would have loved to see Jordan Addison go here, but Zay Flowers goes here, and you got to tell me Paradise or Wasteland.
I have it as paradise. You're going to team up with Justin Herbert. Yeah, you have a couple of veteran receivers already in place, but I think you could always go with the upside of teaming up with an ascending young quarterback. What I do like, honestly, I kind of have the same logic you have about it. any wide receiver who's going to go to the Chargers this offseason, drafted by the Chargers, I think they have a pretty good chance of being in paradise because the two wide receivers that are there are possibly on their way out, and you have an up and coming quarterback. So yeah, this is a paradise for me. It will be a paradise for Flowers. It will be a paradise for Addison Johnson. Whoever goes there, I'll see that as a paradise.
Yeah. So just like you, I have this as a fantasy football paradise for Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is a fantastic route runner. I think that he would only improve as a route runner working with Keenan Allen every day in practice. Um, a little bit different. It's honestly it's somewhat of a similar situation. Wide receiver room wise to the Seattle Seahawks. The only difference here and the reason why it becomes a difference maker for me is the Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is there forever, and um, he's going to be able to go with a guy like Zay Flowers and really teach him the ropes. Or really help him run this offense at a high clip. Keenan Allen's going to be able to teach him the ropes. And with that being said, I just think it's a better offense that passes at a higher volume. And Zay Flowers, I think, would be a very good player for the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think eventually would be able to find his way into that wide receiver two, maybe even the wide receiver one role for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like I would be emboldened, not reserved for if I seen him land in that spot. Yeah, I think it would definitely be a plus, not a minus.
Yeah, for sure. So we got a few picks left, three of them to be exact. 23rd overall. Somewhat of a surprising pick, I'm not gonna lie, but there has been some rumors. My Minnesota Vikings, Daniel Jeremiah mocks us quarterback Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. And so Paradise or Wasteland.
I was going. I'm going to see most of this to you, but I will say that I think you go into a team where you have Justin Jefferson and you have T.J. Hawkinson. It's a paradise, and he's coming in behind a quarterback that's already established, who he can learn from. And I'll pretty much leave it at that. Andrew, go ahead, take it away. Let us know what you think about this draft pick.
Yeah. As a Vikings fan, I don't want this to be the pick. I will say that. Um, Now, as a fantasy football manager, I think it would be fantasy football paradise for Hendon Hooker. And I say that on a few different reasons. One, there's an established offense with Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, currently Dalvin Cook, but it's more likely going to be Alexander Madison there, and so on. Um, I think that Hendon Hooker coming off of the ACL injury, he's going to be somebody who doesn't start right away. I think coming to a team like the Minnesota Vikings, who have been non-committal to Kirk Cousins past 2023, kind of tells you that they would draft a guy like Hooker, bring him in, let him kind of play the season behind Kirk Cousins, learn from Kirk as an established vet, a smart vet at the NFL level, and then eventually have Hendon Hooker take over as a starter in 2024. To me, that is where most of the appeal is that that the job would then be handed to Hooker and then he would have a good offensive around him. I think the coaching staff there is great. They're very offensive focused, coming from the Sean McVay coaching tree and being that pass heavy offense that they were last year. I do like that. And then just similar play styles of Hendon Hooker and Kirk Cousins. It sounds weird saying that Hendon Hooker and Kirk Cousins have very similar play styles, but both of these guys are very very accurate with the football. They play fairly conservative, but they're just good football players. They're really good game managers. That's kind of the way that they play. So if Hendon Hooker goes here, funny enough, I feel like the ceiling for a Hendon Hooker is a Kirk Cousins esque player, which would be that quarterback 10 to quarterback 15 range, probably for fantasy football. So that's why I landed with Paradise. I think that there's too many goods to outweigh the bads. I think the only bad that I could really consider it would be that you have to wait, and you have to wait for Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, yeah, but I think that depending on how your team's set up, I could definitely see it being paradise type of situation, especially if the other quarterbacks are gone and you already have two quarterbacks to start. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to say that Hendon Hooker has more agility and more mobility than a guy like Kirk Cousins does as well.
that's always a
Um,
plus.
Always a plus. So we got 2 picks left with the 27th pick in the NFL draft. Daniel Jeremiah has the Buffalo Bills drafting Quentin Johnston, wide receiver out of TCU. And so, is this paradise or is this a wasteland?
I think I had this one as a wasteland. I don't know. Okay, first of all, we have to look past the fact that Josh Allen is there, right? Um, but when you get past that, Stephon Diggs still is on this team. We still do have Gabe Davis. We still do have Khalil Shakir. So I don't necessarily know if Quentin Johnston, based on what I've heard about him going through the draft process, I don't necessarily know that he could beat out any of those guys. So I see it as a wasteland, man, even with Josh Allen there.
Yeah. Um, this is one of the few that you and I are going to disagree on, and I think this is one of the ones that I was. This is the last one of that group that I was kind of flip flopping on, but I ended up going with Fantasy Football Paradise, and ironically enough, um, I think you're getting a slightly upgraded Gabe Davis here. And maybe
Huh.
that's a lazy comparison and maybe that's, lazy analysis in general, but um, I do think that Quentin Johnston offers some of the things, if not most of the things that Gabe Davis gives you as your wide receiver too. I do think that Quentin Johnston is a little bit more talented than Gabe Davis, and I do think that he has some more ability than Gabe Davis has as a wide receiver. So, I ended up going Paradise. I think that, there isn't a chance that Quentin Johnston takes that wide receiver one job from Stephon Diggs. It's just not in the range of possibilities for me. Um, but I think that wide receiver two position is going to be more open than we think. So I don't mind having a guy tied to Josh Allen, and there's been some lust for Gabe Davis over the last couple years. It hasn't been everything we've hoped it would be, but I think Quentin Johnston has a little bit better of an ability than Gabe. So ultimately, that's why I ended up going with Paradise. But I could definitely be wrong about this, and I'm okay being wrong if I'm shooting Quentin Johnston with first round draft capital on the Buffalo Bills.
Lusting for Gabe Davis. That's a fantasy football team if I ever heard one.
Tell me that's not what the community did for 2 years, man.
Yeah, yeah, definitely some Gabe Davis lust out there, man.
Yeah, there probably still is. There's a clan of Gabe Davis fans out there that's probably still all over him. Um, but other than that, that's really all I have to say about Quentin Johnston. Do you have anything else about QJ?
No, man, I think he has a lot to prove, to be honest.
I think so too. It'll be interesting to see how. I mean, you text me and you said that this draft is going to be there's going to be some surprises, and I think one of the surprises, whether it be good or bad, I don't know, it's going to be Quentin Johnston because funny enough, I feel like there's a real possibility that come draft day, it's in the realm of possibilities that QJ could be the first guy off the board.
Really.
I think so. There's got to be a team out there that likes the athleticism, likes the size, because he's one of the few receivers in this draft that has that prototype size for your X wide receiver. There's got to be somebody that likes him, man. I really could see him going as high as 12 to the Texans. And then there's a range of outcomes where I could see him going like late in the second round to a team because nobody likes him. So it's going to be interesting to see QJ, man. I think he's going to be one of the question marks I'm watching on draft day.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely got to keep an eye out for him.
Yeah. And so with the last pick that we're going to cover, because this is the 29th pick in the first round, Daniel Jeremiah has the New Orleans Saints taking Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame. And he's already in that goldish color. So tell me how you feel about Michael Mayer going to the Saints.
Paradise. I think I think I think that offense just has upside for opportunity. Who's their they've kind of gone through who they've been using the last few years. Cook,
Juwan Johnson.
Dwan Johnson. See, like I'm all over the place. Like see, like they want to taste him to be the tight end. Like they just jumped around. So I think it's good that they're finally going to get an established tight end in there to try to get him to be an available pass catcher. So I do see this as a waste a paradise because you have Olave, whoever however people like to say it, Olave. Then you have Thomas. You have Rashid Shaheed. There's opportunity there for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I ended up going to Paradise myself. Um, it comes down to a few things. I said I like fantasy football tight ends that can be the number 2 target on their roster. I think that there's a real possibility, especially with the history of Michael Thomas over the last couple of years, that Michael Mayer would be the second target behind Olave. Um, so I think that that is in the range of outcomes. I also think that Michael Mayer is one of, if not the most complete tight end in this class, where he has the ability to uh, really excel in pass blocking. He can excel in the run game. He excels, receiving the ball. He kind of does it all. He's one of these unique talents that is funny enough. How I talk about Zach Charbonnet being good at everything but a master of none. Michael Mayer is a little bit better than that. I would say he is good at everything, a master of some, for Michael Mayer. So I do like this landing spot. And then again, as well as having the opportunity to be the second receiving target on this roster, you have to look at who's throwing him the ball. And Derek Carr has a history of throwing the ball to the tight end. Um, he used to throw the ball to Jared Cook when Jared Cook was the tight end in Oakland. And then he obviously has been throwing the ball to Darren Waller since they came to Vegas and even before that. So um,
Yeah.
there's a very real chance that Michael Mayer going here. I mean, I already have him as my tight end 1 in this class, but he goes here. Yeah, that's solid, man. I would not be opposed to taking Michael Mayer at the back end of my first rounds and super flex drafts if this is the landing spot with first round draft capital. And yeah, it's to me, this is one of the better landing spots of this whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of like almost the perfect fit.
Yeah. Spacenfeld says that his Juwan Johnson shares would like a word. Um, and you know what? I agree, though, a little bit because I've liked Juwan Johnson this offseason. I think if they don't draft a tight end, he's going to be sneaky. It's just you got to get through draft day because this draft class is deep at the tight end position. And if the Saints don't address it, then Juwan Johnson's sneaky. But there's going to be a lot of bullets he has to dodge come this weekend.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, with that being said, I did want to ask you, uh, of these ones, what do you think is what is probably your favorite landing spot of those ones, and then what is your least favorite of all of them?
My least favorite is Bijan going to the Patriots. Let's just get that out the way right now. And I would say that honestly, my favorite is the very first one we did. I really do like Bryce Young going to the Carolina Panthers. I think just having Josh McCown there, having Frank right there to help steer the ship, get him on the right track. I think those are two great spots.
Yeah. I agree with you on the Bijan. I think that's my least favorite of them. Like I said, it would make me uneasy if that was something that if that happened come this week. But I think one of my favorites is there's a lot of good ones in this mock draft that he had. We had a good amount of paradise picks, but I think Anthony Richardson going fourth to the Tex or to the Colts. That's one of the ones that
That's
I think is really good.
yeah,
And I also really like Zay Flowers to the Chargers. Man, it's a good landing spot for me as well.
yeah. I think honestly, I would almost if I switch my pick to Anthony Richardson, it's like a tie. It's like 1A and 1B
Yeah,
between Bryce going to the Panthers and Anthony Richardson going to the Colts.
yeah. I agree. Well, that is all that we have for you guys today. Not too long of a show today. It was about 45 minutes. So, we got out a little bit quicker, probably a little bit to you're probably grateful for that a little bit being recovering from surgery. Um, but I do want to give everybody a little spiel before we hop on out, as I usually do. But thank you everybody for watching. We really do appreciate it. Again, before you leave, make sure that you hit the like button, leave a comment, do all the good stuff, because that is what helps our channel grow. Again, if you haven't joined the Discord, please go join the Discord. That is where we talk fantasy football. That's where you can join any of these shows. And then last but not least, it is the week of the NFL draft. This is Super Bowl season for your Dynasty fantasy football rosters. So this week, I am focusing on really hitting hard on the rookie content. We're going to talk a lot about rookies this week. We're going to talk a lot about draft picks. And then we'll be talking probably my official rookie rankings shortly after the NFL draft is concluded. So we will be doing that. And still in the air, something that I'm thinking about doing that I may or may not, just depending on how you guys react to it. But if you guys wanted to, I might be open to doing like a first round draft party live stream on Thursday, watching the draft live on stream, talking with everybody, kind of seeing the initial gut reactions to these landing spots. So something I'm still thinking about. If it's something that you want us to do, go put it in the Discord. So I know you guys want to come in and hang out. If not, no worries. I'll watch it by myself. So that is all. So thank you again, everybody. And I really do appreciate it. But until next time, we will see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.